people talk, listen, man, I'm going to raise that red flag.
This narrative, especially after 1 year.
1 year.
One bad year. It's one big splash move. And because I don't think people understand how much cap space we can create.
Alex, I want to ask you, because you're a very humble person.
And I'm never going to be right about anything.
Yeah.
I was right.
Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. What up, guys? Welcome back. I'm back at it again. I'm always back at it. I'm just loving this so freaking much. So I posted something on Twitter yesterday, and it was like, look at the Commanders. Panthers fans tell me it takes more than a year to rebuild. And I got so much pushback by, of course, fans that are thinking illogically because they're using their fandom. And they said, well, this is an outlier. That never happens like this. Yes, it does. It happens all the time. It happened with the Texans and the Jags and the Bengals and the 49ers and the Eagles and the Rams. It happens all the freaking time. And even the Giants, when Dayball came in, they made the playoffs immediately. O'Connell came in, they made the playoffs immediately. It happens all the time. And it was just me putting a tweet out there. It didn't really mean anything to me, but I got so much pushback by it. And what it forces me to do, it forces me to be negative to the fan base and say, guys, you gotta stop with this over optimism about this team. So I spent all day long today, being negative and kind of bringing people back down to earth, that I thought I would come on tonight and say something positive. So tonight, this episode is going to be all about positive things and things that the Panthers did do well this season. So I'm going to go through what I liked about what the Panthers have done this season. And there is a lot to like about it. There really, really is a lot to like. Granted, it's kind of like having a business and you're a failing business and you have all these things that are against you, like bad food, bad service, the cleanliness is bad, and then you deep clean the bathrooms. It's man, the bathrooms look really, really good. But then you have all these other problems like the service, the food, that kind of thing. So we cleaned the bathrooms. The bathrooms are pristine, but we need to fix the food and the service and all the other stuff in the restaurant. I really like that analogy. I just kind of made it up. That's actually a pretty good analogy. So let's see how we started off, right? So we hire Morgan, which is fine. Whatever, that's who they hired. They hired who they hired. And he hires Canales. He hires who they hire. And they hired Tilis, and which is fine. They hire who they hire. And they kind of start off, kind of feels like the very first thing they do is they trade Burns. And they trade Burns for a second and a fifth. And to Panthers fans, and this is what's so funny about this, is that I have to bring Panthers fans from when they're negative back to being kind of in the middle, and then when they're positive, I have to bring them back to the middle. I just need people to stay objective and understand. So people are because they got offered 2 firsts 2 years ago, even though Dan Morgan wasn't the GM then. He got, I think it was the first trade out. He got a second and a fifth. He identified that they could not come to an agreement with Brian Burns, and he got a second and a fifth. And people thought that, he should at least get a first. At least 1 first. He got offered 2 firsts 2 years ago. Well, the market changes. So the big contracts, the big trades that happened this past year were the Chiefs got a third for Snead. Carlton Davis went for a third. Judy went for a fifth and a sixth. Hassan Reddick went for a conditional third. Edge Franklin Myers went for a sixth. And Stephon Diggs went for a second. Now, did anyone else get a second or a fifth? Brian Burns is a good player, but he's a one-time Pro Bowler. Stephon Diggs been all-pro. So you can say as a Panthers fan, oh, we should at least get a first when you don't understand what the market is. The last edge rusher to come with a first round pick is when Miami traded a first for Bradley Chubb. That was like 3 years ago. And that was in the season. And you had a second and a fifth. And you could argue that Chubb's better than Burns or Burns is better than Chubb, but that's what the actual market is. The fact that the report that the Rams wanted to trade 2 firsts, that they just, okay. Who knows if that's even real? Maybe. But that was not Morgan. Morgan got great value according to what the market was this year. So good job, Morgan. You identified that the deal wasn't going to get done. You saved $30 million in cap space, and you got a second and a fifth. And that second turned into another second next year. So that's the first good thing they did. And I said it at the time. I thought it was a very, very good move because they did it first. And you're always going to get the best value when you're the first to the market. Same when you're offering contracts. The wide receiver is going to be the highest paid all-time receiver in May if you sign him. But then when August comes around, there's a new market value. So the market the price just went up. So it's always good to make these moves first, because then you can also understand what your draft strategy is. So good job, Morgan, on the Burns trade. Then we had the Deontay Johnson trade, where we ended up netting a 6th, getting Deontay Johnson, and getting rid of someone we were already going to cut. So we got Deontay Johnson. No matter how I feel about, you don't get a wide receiver without understanding what the future holds with them. Like, you either don't trade for them or you extend them, because they're going to take snaps away from your younger guys. They're going to be a locker room headache because they're going to want the ball the most, because the more you get the ball, the more catches you get, the more yards you get, and the more money you get in the offseason. So they're not team players when you play that style. And it turned out he wasn't a team player. But you got something in the trade, even if you didn't get Deontay Johnson. And then he eventually gets traded. They identified that they needed to trade him, and they got something for him. The Ravens had him, they cut him. They didn't get anything for him. The Texans had him, they cut him. They didn't get anything for him. So we got something for him at least. So that's another good job, Morgan. And then you draft Michael Barrett, and he's not working out, which 7th round picks usually don't. They're usually kind of like a hopefully. So you trade him and you get Mike Jackson, and Mike Jackson's likely going to be on the team next year. So you have somebody that you're going to cut, and you get a player that is going to be on your team. So it's a net positive again. Good job, Dan Morgan. You have Jonathan Mingo, who doesn't really work in Canales' offense, and he didn't really get better. So he's a 2nd round pick, but he's not really in the rotation. You have other guys like Coker waiting to come and play. So you find a way to get him off of the roster, and you get him to Dallas for a 4th. Everybody in the NFL was like, holy crap, you got a 4th for Mingo? Good job, Morgan. Speaking of Coker, you just got a roster spot for him. And this is a guy that was on the practice squad. He had cut from the team and got put on the practice squad. What's amazing, first of all, it's amazing that the 7th rounder, they could have drafted Coker, but Michael Barrett ended up getting us Mike Jackson. But they understood the overall market of what the NFL was looking for, and they made a calculated decision that he's going to go undrafted. And they were correct. And as soon as the draft ended, they gave him the highest contract ever for an undrafted free agent. So it was essentially another draft pick. Good job, Morgan. Then you understood that within this time frame, you knew Coker was good. A lot of people are like chattering about Coker. And I don't know if people remember this, but usually you cut guys and they hit waivers and everybody's on the waivers at once and there's a waiver priority. He waited until that time had already gone through with all the other waivers, and then he cut him to put somebody on the active roster. And then nobody had anybody to cut because they liked their roster. So they were able to bring somebody onto the roster, have Coker go to the practice squad, and then come back up and join the team. So there was a lot of like gymnastics with that. Good job, Morgan. Xavier Legette, we didn't have a first round pick. We were 33rd. Morgan used his relationship with Buffalo to get into the first round and get Legette at 32. Whatever you think about Legette, that's an excellent move because it gives you that 5th year option. And with wide receiver contracts being what they are, that's huge. It's humongous. Good job, Morgan. This is all great. He used the Giants pick. I don't like that he went after a running back, but he traded back with his Giants pick. He traded back up to get Brooks, but when he traded back, he got the Rams pick. We didn't have a 2nd round pick because of the Bryce trade. So he got that 2nd round pick back. Good job, Morgan. Now we have a pick in every round. We get an extra 5th for the Burns trade, and we get an extra 4th for the Mingo trade. Excellent. What do those 9 picks tell me? It tells me that we're playing for 2025. You know what else tells me? I thought that we should have cut Thielen. I thought we should have cut Thielen. I thought we should have cut Sanders. But he stayed pat because he knew if we keep them, we won't eat that dead cap money in 2025. And we can just cut him outright. We have a little bit of dead cap with him, but it wouldn't be as much as if we cut him. So Morgan, this whole time, is playing for 2025. Good job, Morgan. Not taking this bait, not taking the bait of getting rid of this vets. Especially vets that you think can help your team. What else does he do? He extends Derek Brown and he extends Chuba Hubbard. You know what Fitter was really bad at? Extending players. Extending players helps your cap so much. And it doesn't give you the headache of when you get to free agency using the franchise tag and working with the agent. When you're trying to build a team, you don't have to worry about this nonsense. You lock these guys up. We didn't extend Brian Burns. Fitter didn't, at least. Dan Morgan shows that he probably would have. And it shows us that he's probably going to do it with Horn. So it takes us as fans, we're not worried that we're not going to extend J.C. Horn. Because we saw him extend Brown, we saw him extend Chuba. I'm good. I think he's going to do it. Good job, Morgan. So getting all these picks, I think he won every single trade he made. Personally. Maybe not the Deion Jones pick when he traded for him, but Shaq Thompson just got hurt. He was trying to get depth. I'm okay with it. But for the most part, he did a really good job with trades. Good job, Morgan. So then let me talk about the front office a little bit more. So Brant Tilis comes in. And I'm not going to go into detail with it. I was thinking about doing it, but there's so many contracts. So here's what Tilis did. He allowed us basically to spray and pray. So he got all these contracts that were so heavy with sign-on bonuses that the cap space was really small. So Lewis's cap space was really small. So was Hunt's. So was Jules. So was Fuller. So the cap space stayed small, which allowed us to sign more and more and more free agents. Problem was we had a lot of misses, but we had some hits that we might not have had if Tilis didn't get us that cap. So I'm going to say good job, Tilis. Because we might not have, the guys that I think we should keep. Like, I think we should have Ashawn Robinson on the roster. And we might not have been able to have him. David Moore. Don't know if we would have been able to have him if these contracts didn't work out. So Josie Jewell, I don't know if we would have been able to have him. So Tilis did a great job making these contracts set in a way where not only do we have small cap hits this year, we don't have much cap hit as far as dead cap next year. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to get too much into it, but Tilis did a really good job. Tilis has probably been the most impressive person of everyone, but nobody knows it because nobody looks at numbers. But Tilis has done a really, really, really good job. Good job. Dave Canales. You got 2 rookie receivers that look really promising. Leggett has some drops, but the routes that he's running to get open, he's getting open. He just has to clean up a little bit of things. He could be a 1,000-yard receiver next year. So could Coker. So could Sanders. You got Chuba playing the best ball that he's played. The offensive line looks great. Bryce Young looks the most confident we've seen him. Good job, Canales. Canales, as far as just a coach and building his players up, as far as in like getting them playing better ball. But at the end of the year, Jalen Coker was an undrafted free agent. He looked like he was probably a 2nd-round pick. Some of those routes that Leggett was running, if he learns how to like high point a ball or just come down with the ball, Canales has been looking pretty good. That offensive line is playing really, really well. They're running the ball really, really well. Bryce is playing really, really good football. Good job, Canales. David Tepper. We really haven't heard anything from him. I do not believe that he does not have a say in things. I do not believe that as just a belief. I know who these guys are. I understand who narcissists are. I know how controlling they are. But he ain't going in front of the media and pissing people off. He ain't turning off future potential Panther players because of his antics. And his bar ain't set very high. So I'm going to give a good job, Tepper. There is a lot to like about this team. There really, really is. But in my opinion, we're the really bad restaurant that serves bad food, has a bad wait staff, and is dirty. And this is just cleaning the bathrooms, which is a nice step forward. But we still have a bad menu. Our defense is really, really bad. We still make pretty weird moves and kind of get away with it. The Bryce situation, the way that he was treated. I'm nervous I'm nervous that when Bryce, reflecting on the season, I'm nervous he's not just thinking to himself, wow, Canales treated me like crap. He might not be because he's Bryce and he's a really good dude, but he might. because Bryce had bad wait staff. They had bad wait staff, and they got bad food. But we can't deny those bathrooms are clean. And I'm impressed. I don't use this word very often, but I'm impressed with some of the stuff they did. It is impressive. And I won't get into the other stuff because you've heard me talk about the other stuff, and I want to be a nice person today. But some of this stuff is pretty impressive. They could be onto something. I hope they're onto something. We'll see. But I like this team. I want them to do well. I have cautious optimism. But I also know this organization. I know we went 5-win, 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 7-win, 2-win, 5-win. I know the last 6 years we were 29-71. I know we had the worst defense of all time last year. And I'm not going to forget that. But good job. And I honestly mean that. I honestly mean that. Good job for those specific things that I mentioned. It is impressive. All right, appreciate you listening. Until next time.